Okay. Um, Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Sorry for starting late. I was here way before 4:30, but I had some challenges setting up the Facebook Live. I insisted using my laptop to go live because I wanted to have a full experience of the live session. You could see on my page that there is this video that I took, um, not a video actually, a live session I'd started with my phone when all attempts to use my laptop to start the live session were not yielding fruit. But I think it's such a lesson to me and to all of us. It just reminded me about how much Facebook has evolved, how much it has changed, and how much more I need to learn. But I think you are watching me already. So, in order to clear the confusion, let me remove this from the page so that it doesn't confuse people. All right, great. Yeah, I'm very sorry. I'm starting late. I'm running like 22 minutes late. That's quite late, but like I said, it was unforeseen. It was due to network challenges I had with Facebook and the other tech company I don't want to mention. But I can't believe how just by switching devices from your laptop to your phone requires a lot of agreement to terms and a lot of settings. I think it's just to tell you how much the world is so sophisticated, and these are some of the things I'm going to be talking about today actually. How the level of sophistication globally, things that we take for granted, but they are very very sensitive in some places. We think we are being stressed too much, but if you think deeply about these things, you realize how much people's privacy and people's rights are at stake, and that's why sometimes all these arrangements have to be put in place. And this is not me trying to defend any tech giant. This is just me trying to explain how there is some kind of global order, and corporate entities elsewhere, everywhere in the world, are trying to live up to that kind of standard. Because I mean, the world is so diverse, and managing diversity requires quite a lot of knowledge and know-how. It requires knowing what sensitivities people have so that you can respect those sensitivities and make sure that you're not stepping on anyone's boundary. So yeah, I was intending this to just be a chit chat before I go into the session proper. Just waiting for more people to join. I'm sure some people might have come on the page and they saw nothing happening, so they left. So I'm just giving some more time for them to see another notification popping on their screen so that they can join us, and then we can start our session. It's going to be brief. It's not it's not a very very serious kind of session, and that's why I said I was going live on my Facebook page. I didn't want it to be such a very very formal conversation. I just want it to be um, a chat, basically, just me sharing the few things that I know with people who I believe would make a very very good use of it, because there is power in sharing information. Sometimes you all would testify how much power information wields. Somebody might be selling something, but they don't have people to buy. All they need to do is probably to reach out to this friend who has saved 2,000 phone numbers on their WhatsApp, and this person would post their merchandise on their WhatsApp story, and before you know it, sold out. So, and it happens across everything. It's not just limited to selling merchandise, it's everything. Sometimes it's a skill that you have, and someone might know who needs your skill better than you do. And all you need is just that connection, that person coming in between you and the person who is willing to buy your, pay for your service. I'm going to. Do you think we should just start? Let me speak to the people who've already joined. We should just start, yeah? Yeah, shout out to all of you who have joined. I can see Bilkisu, Musa Umar. Thank you for, like, it's this, not the other way around. I can see Saldona Ahmad Salihu. Thank you for joining. I can see Soles Ojotile from, I don't know where she's from, but I can see Usman Muhammad Ali Awalia. Thank you to all of you for joining. So yeah, I think we are good to go, and Facebook is going to have the recording on my Facebook page, so anyone who has not been able to join live would be able to watch the recording later. So I think there's even no point waiting. Of course, we've already taken so much time trying to set up the live session. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone, or just good day to everyone, depending on where you're joining from. These days, people can join from different time zones, so you are never so sure how to greet people. So you have to observe that time differentials. Anyway, yeah, so my name is Mustafa Said. I am currently a master's student studying Africa and International Development at the University of Edinburgh in Scotland in the United Kingdom. I came to the United Kingdom in 2021 in September to start my master's degree under the Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program at the University of Edinburgh. Before I came to the University of Edinburgh, I had worked in a couple of non-profit initiatives, and I've also been an Adent networker. So essentially that's my story, nothing much about me. That's me, and I started this page 12 years ago in 2010 when I wasn't even very sure what to do with this page. But over time, people evolve, society evolves, knowledge evolves, and I kept on having a better picture of what I could do with the page. And seeing that it's now turning 12, when I am also doing a master's in international development, I thought there are a couple of things that I have been privileged to learn about that I should share with people who follow this page. I see you every day. I am very, 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 very much humbled by your support and your engagement. I always pay a very, very special attention to my Facebook page and my Facebook audience because these are friends. Usually, these are friends, people that know me very well and people that I also know very well. So I believe that just as I share stories, my endless stories with people that know me, just as I share stories with people anytime we meet, I thought it would also be good to share other things, especially now that I am not in Nigeria. I don't get to meet people as much as I used to in the past when I was in Nigeria. Of course, I'm in a new country. I know just a few people here in the UK, but that doesn't mean that I don't have friends. My friends are mostly in Nigeria. and I thought I could be using this Facebook page to just be taking some time to talk to friends and family basically. And today, this page is turning 12, and I want to talk about global opportunities in education, opportunities in work, opportunities in business. They all exist. A lot of people who have joined might have known about these things, but I'm just doing it just in case there are people who want to know much more about these opportunities and how to get them, because it's one thing to know about these opportunities and it's another for you to know that you can actually get these opportunities and you are on track to get the opportunities. There are people who have started doing things already intentionally to get these opportunities. There are people who are already doing fantastic things, but they might not really know where it could be taking them to. And it's always good for you to just remind people that this thing that you are doing could take you somewhere. And that's why I'm doing this. So let me start with educational opportunities, such as the one that I got, scholarships to do a master's. Anyone who is familiar with social media platforms like LinkedIn and Twitter knows how it has become very, very common and very, very frequent these days to see people posting that they've gotten this scholarship to do this master's degree or that master's degree or this PhD or that PhD. So I'm just here to let people know that most of the people that you see posting these opportunities are not are usually people who apply to this opportunity. So it's not like, you are the most brilliant person in your continent, so come over and study. No, it doesn't happen like that. It might have happened to some people, but for most of the people that I know, and for my own instance, it was something that I applied to. In fact, I applied several times before I got in. So this scholarships, this opportunity to come to Western countries, usually, sorry for using the word Western countries, but countries in Europe and America, North America usually, and Australia or Oceania sometimes, and quite lately South Asia as well. These opportunities are opportunities that you apply to. They just like jobs, they make it public that there are opportunities or that there are openings, and then candidates submit applications trying to demonstrate to the recruiter how well they suit the opportunity and how they're in the best position to be given that opportunity. So you apply and then you go through a process and then you get it. That's something that people should know. And for you to get these opportunities, you don't have to be the smartest person in the room who has gotten A plus 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 plus, who has changed everything in their country, from the constitution to everything. No. All they want to see is just some promise, some faith, some belief that you are part of something that could become bigger. That you believe in the power of education to not just change your life as an individual, but also change your society, your community. That is what is needed. So long as you're able to demonstrate that through your scholarship application essays, then you are very, very likely to get noticed by the selection panel, and then they invite you for an interview. They make sure that what you wrote is what you stand for and it's something that you wrote by yourself. Then they give you such opportunities. So, and these scholarships, they can master scholarships are some of the most common, but there are also PhD scholarships. There are also undergraduate scholarships. And it's just because maybe we have quite a lot of graduates in Nigeria, and young people in Nigeria are quite energetic. So most times what you see is people looking to do a master's. And I think I don't have the statistics, and that's why I'm trying to be careful not to give any wholesome figure. But from my observation online, there are more master scholarships than say undergraduate scholarships. And that's why you see more people posting that they have gotten master scholarships. So it's usually your best shot if you want to go abroad to study. Your best shot is to try a master's scholarship. Like I said, you don't need to be an outlier to get it. Of course, some people are outliers and they end up getting it, but You don't always have to be an outlier to get these opportunities. Most times, what you just need is some level of understanding, some level of exposure to what's happening in your field and in the world, for you to be able to apply to these opportunities. Um, yeah, and then there are also work opportunities. Yeah, because I'm doing my best to not allow the idea of scholarships or masters to dominate the conversation. I would now head to work opportunities. There are also opportunities globally for work. You don't have to sometimes travel over to come to this country. Sometimes these jobs are remote. You don't have to be the super smartest person who speaks the coolest English in the room to get these remote jobs. Once you have the skill and you are able to demonstrate to the hiring committee that you can do the job and you're on the right platform, you can get these jobs. So you have a lot of people, and mostly young people, who are getting these opportunities to actually work from home. Somebody might be in as far as a town in somewhere in Nigeria, and the person would be working for a company in Australia. And most times, these companies would offer a decent level of pay, a decent wage rate. Sometimes they even go on to cover so many things, because the fact that you are doing the job remotely doesn't mean that you are not such an important staff. Sometimes, just like the regular staff of an organization that is doing well, that is so engaged, that is so interconnected with the world, who travels abroad, goes to this country for this meeting, to that meeting, to see this client or that client, or to monitor this project or that one, you get opportunities to travel. As you're working for them, all that people know is that maybe you are somewhere in your room. Most times you don't come out because you're working remotely, but sometimes they just see you going somewhere because it's still part of your work. If it requires you to travel, the company would sponsor you to go to wherever it is, go and deliver what they expect you to deliver, and then you come back. So those opportunities are existent, and you can get them. But all you need to do is to like understand that they exist and start building the kind of skill that would position you in a way that you grab those opportunities. Then, yeah, moving on, I would like to talk about business opportunities as well. I I am a fan of business people, although I'm not a business person, but I love seeing people doing business. So on this note, what I want to just let people know is that there are opportunities for people doing business, whether it's trade that you are doing, or you're into social entrepreneurship, or you are into modern businesses, I would call them. Some of us might have come into contact with those businesses, most times on Twitter, people who have some kind of niche initiatives. It's not necessarily traditional businesses that we know, but maybe it's somebody who just wants to create a platform that connects people who want to maybe sew clothes, traditional African clothes. Yeah, people who want to be dressing in traditional African clothes, but they are not in Africa. So you'd find some people who want to like develop a business that would allow people, Africans in the diaspora, for example, order clothes from a tailor somewhere in Africa. So some people, you'd see some people trying to like develop an app or something that would connect those, and that is business for you as well. Only that that's the businesses that we call startups. So they require a different level of skill development to do. They also require, of course, to an extent, different kind of education, sophistication to do. But it's something that you can do. It's a skill that you can develop within a short period of time. Last year, I was privileged to work on a research project and I interviewed several people doing businesses as such, and they told me about, you know, the time it takes them to build the skills and where the market is. So this is just me letting people know that it's something that you can do. It doesn't matter where you're from. You don't have to be in the capital of your country to try that. So long as you know about it and you have the time and you really are passionate about it, you want to do it, then yeah, and especially when you're young, you have the opportunity to try new things because you are still exploring. So yeah, it's something that people can try. uh, and these businesses, one important thing that I want to let people know is that, and that is the most interesting thing about them, yeah, when you start the business, you don't they don't the businesses, the ecosystem of such businesses, such startups, is not is not is not the traditional kind of ecosystem that we know businesses to have, in the sense that you send a message to this person, to that person, to get some money, maybe use up your savings to start up the business. If it fails, that's it. And maybe you probably even have to underpay people, or maybe when you're just getting started, you can't get paid, or you can't make profit. Of course, that happens to every business, but the point I want to make here is that these modern businesses are made in such a way that there is support, there is support system attached to it. There is a very very um, fast evolving startup ecosystem around the world. It just takes maybe reading and just being in the right space to know about this thing. So there are venture capitalists who are willing to support those businesses. So the world has moved past having to go to a commercial bank, I mean, everyone would have to sign papers to get money, right? But the world has moved past that kind of situation where it has to be a tangible business where you have a collateral to mortgage in order to secure money to do business. No, you can write a proposal, pitch to a company, venture capitalist most times, and they would invest money in your business without you having to have a collateral, or without you having to have to pay them back should the business fail. No, these are people who are willing to take the risk with you in the business. They invest money in the business, although they expect to have a share of the business should the business succeed. So if you have a good idea, you can then start thinking about how to attract money into your business. Even traditional businesses, top companies that we see today, have done something like that in the past, but just that they did it in a way that we don't really understand. Initial public offering, some companies become very very popular, they do very very well, in the sense that people know for sure that these companies are going to do well, and people start buying shares in those companies, and then before you know it, the company's capitalization just goes up, and yeah, that's it. So it's almost the same thing with startups. The idea might just be in your head, but if you're able to put it down on paper, and you have the leadership skills to convince people to join you, have one, two, three co-founders who believe in what you do, who have similar skills as you, who have not similar skills but different skills that could fill in gaps in the mission you set out to accomplish, then yeah, nothing stops you. If you keep on pushing, you might just get an investment. Because sometimes the truth is that while it might be a cliche for people to always say that capital is why their business can't thrive, and you would sometimes feel tempted to think that no, capital is not really the problem. Capital is still a problem in business. So, and most times those businesses, you see that they are very good, but all they need is that kind of capital investment for them to actually get on their feet, and then before you know it, they are huge names. Today, some of the biggest companies that we know, Facebook inclusive, started as an idea of an undergraduate student at the Harvard University in the US, and Facebook is where it is today. It's basically the dream of people going to all those top schools to go and work with Facebook, because Facebook has become so big, and this is how they started. Doesn't mean that it can't happen in Nigeria. Most times, what you are likely to face is people telling you that, oh no, you are too ambitious, or this idea is so grand, it can't happen in Nigeria. Truth is that the world has become so connected in a way that, so long as you have a powerful idea, whether it's in business or work related or academic, and I'm saying this trying to connect it back to the things I have been mentioning, which form the crux of what I'm talking about: educational opportunities, work opportunities, and business. So long as you have powerful ideas in any of this, either it's business or some idea that could change, that it could revolutionize a workplace, or some very good research proposal that every academic would love to supervise, then you are likely to attract funding either in scholarship or a job or a gig or a consultancy or a business funding. So yeah, don't worry, and it's about making the right use of the resources at your disposal. Yeah. So having talked about this, I would want to then move on to accessing these opportunities that I've talked about. Because for you to access the opportunities, you have to do certain things. The world is now about intentionality. You have to be intentional about what you do these days. Some things happen eventually. There is always this element of, I don't want to use the word luck, but sometimes there are certain opportunities or luck that you only experience if you are in that space, right? For example, somebody who has already started the business might be lucky to meet someone who needs exactly what the person is selling and is willing to pay very, very, very high for that product. But that luck is close to that person who has not started the business. So as you prepare yourself, as you position yourself, then as you position yourself in a way that you access these opportunities, yeah, the luck comes in. But you have to work hard, right? That's what I'm trying to say. So first, I want to talk about skill development. It's very, very important to develop one's skills. There are so many skills to learn. Most times there is this temptation to think that I am a graduate. I have this class of degree. I have that class of degree. I have this qualification from this university or that university. Or I have this number of years in work experience, that there is nothing for me to learn. But what you should know is that even those skills that you are taking pride in are skills that you only learned due to an orientation that you received, explained by your level of, the coverage of the education that you had has given you an orientation that doing this job is what gives me this skill, or being serving for 10 years in this industry or that industry is what gives me this particular skill, or I have this skill, or I don't need to build on my skill. But what you should know is that even the skill that you have, that you're taking pride in, there was a time in the world when it was not considered as a skill. There was a time when the idea of weekend, Saturday and Sunday, for example, was not being thought of as a holiday because people went to work every day. It was the idea of industry, some level of social movements that called for some respite for labor, that brought the idea of weekend being a holiday, and your own thinking as well, that you have a certain level of skill, you don't need to develop your skill. It's a kind of orientation that you had that made you think that it's a skill. Like I said, there were times when, if you go back 500, 600 years ago, probably the skill that you have of, say, maybe working on a computer was not thought of as a skill, but now it's a skill. Yeah. So you have to bring yourself out of the box of your orientation, of what you know, of what you're limited by, through your education, to know that, okay, this is what I know. I've read so much when I was in school. I know so much. I can do a lot of calculations, but I was only taught how to calculate because of some expectation or some thinking that the curriculum developers of my education had, that made them to design my own skill and everything in this way. And it's changing. So as it's changing, the demands that the world has on me as a graduate are also changing. And so you also need to do more to develop your skill. So many skills. I'm trying to be as abstract as I can be, because I just want this to be like a wake-up call, a kind of awareness that I'm trying to create. So, and there is this danger if I mention particular skills, because it's going to look as if it's only those skills that you need or those skills are the gateway. If you have them, that's it. No, I have to be very, very careful to not do that, but I just want to let people know that there are essential skills that you need. Some skills might be taken for granted, but they're actually skills in themselves. They are useful. And for example, using social media is a skill. Knowing how to reach out to people is a skill. uh, Knowing how to use a computer is a skill. Not everyone has it. And even to use a computer, there are different things you can do with a computer. There are probably a billion or a trillion things you can do with a computer. Whoever says that they know how to use a computer only knows how to do something with the computer. So, but there are skills that you can learn. They are very, very, very essential. For example, knowing how to perform tasks on Microsoft Excel is deemed as something that is very, very important, is very, very real. This is something that I've experienced myself. I have seen how relevant the skill in Excel is, and how useful one could be if they know how to use Microsoft Excel. So this is just an example. Like I said, it depends on what you want to do. There are certain industries that if you want to get into, what you need is not skill in Excel. Probably what you need is skill in using Microsoft Email Outlook. That is what you need to be very, 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 very adept when it comes to using email, Microsoft email. That is what you need. In some industries, all you need is to be a very, very, to be an effective communicator. That is all you need. So skill development should be should be um, should be your default kind of thinking, that I want to develop my skill. And of course, you cannot have every skill in this world. What you should do is think about where you want to go, the industry you want to go to. Start speaking to people in that industry so that you know what you need to get into those industries. There are, as we speak, there are jobs that are there, and the jobs are vacant, not because of anything, but because the organizations haven't found the right people or people with the right skills to fill in those positions. So, um, like one of the professors that taught me introduction to business when I was doing my undergrad, I remember in one of his papers, he said that when the argument came about computers and how computers are taking away jobs, he said no, computers are not taking away jobs. They are just displacing human beings to to bigger challenges that cannot be solved by computers. And I to an extent I agree with him actually. So yeah, develop your skill, speak to people in the industry. Then yeah, I've talked about it. Smart use of social media, and also decent use of the internet. Okay, so maybe I only spoke about use of social media briefly, but let me just tease it out a bit. Social media has become a very, very powerful tool. It's not a luxury, it's not a way of showing that you have arrived or you are this young person who is on all the cool social media pages. No, people use social media to get opportunities. People use social media to keep in touch. People use social media sometimes to look for talent. There is somebody who is probably on Facebook, for example, who is just looking for somebody. He is looking for somebody with a particular skill and he's on Facebook. So it's worth knowing that social media platforms could be used in that way. And what does that mean for you? It means that the way you use social media has to now become what? Professionalized. And your social media accounts, I mean, the social media that you sign up for, have to also become targeted and intentional. I remember some years ago, 7, 8, 9 years ago, when I was dropping my email on almost every social media then, due to teenage curiosity and whatnot. I didn't know much what it could do, but I ended up realizing how important it could be and how helpful it could be. So different social media have different uses. Facebook, indispensable, great, helps you to keep in touch with friends and family, share important things, because people are very likely to read when they are on Facebook, because it's family things, it's funny things, they want to read it. So Facebook is great. But if you want to get a job, or you want to get someone to fill a position, or you want to get an opportunity for consultancy or something similar, where should you be? You should then be looking at social networking platforms that are essentially crafted for that kind of engagement. And on that note, what you should be looking at is then LinkedIn, for example, because LinkedIn is purposely for professionals. It's for people who want to get a job and people who want to hire someone, or people who just want somebody to perform a professional task for them. Sometimes it's not just about getting a job, to just be in one organization, be going every day, 9 to 5. It's not about that. There are a lot of people who have lived years in their life and they didn't have this kind of 9 to 5 jobs that they did for 20, 25, 30, 40 years. No. They simply relied on opportunities based on need. They had a particular skill. They go to this place, they render a service. They go to the other place, they render a service. It's difficult for us, the kind of tertiary education class, to think about life or the world of work as something that is not permanent. But the reality, the modern reality, is proving that anyone, regardless of your level of skill, you could be in this kind of situation where your job is not a permanent one. You change them because you do different things, right? So this platform, LinkedIn, is where people do that. If you are looking for a job, sign up on LinkedIn. It helps. People on LinkedIn, because they know that that's what took them. So when you reach out to them, they usually would respond. Very, very serious. Doesn't matter who they are. When you reach out, but you only reach out when you have something to say, right? So it's not the place where you just reach out because I'm just saying hello. No, you don't want to do that. There are situations when you do that, but you have to first of all understand the terrain before you can do that, because they said you have to first of all understand the rules, then you start breaking them, because you know when to break and it doesn't really matter. So LinkedIn is it. Then secondly, Twitter. Twitter seems like this cool place, maybe just for elite, but over time Twitter has also proven itself to be a kind of knowledge platform where people talk about so many things, especially people from Nigeria these days. You would see Twitter spaces being organized where they talk about research, how to write a proposal to get a PhD scholarship, how to write a proposal to get a business grant, how to maybe get a job in the tech industry, how to, for example, work with companies like Netflix and Google and Facebook. They talk about them on Twitter. So you join Twitter sometimes to get that kind of exposure. You don't say that I'm not going to join Twitter because, no. You, except if you have other means of networking, but if you are a young person who is looking for opportunity, especially in a country that is presently economically disadvantaged, then you should try as much as possible to increase the level of access. Make yourself accessible. Then maybe it seems like most of the things I'm talking about, they are just reminding me of how much they also need sessions in themselves. But remember, I said I didn't want anything to dominate. So make sure that you have social media accounts. You have accounts in those platforms because they help people use them to build their knowledge. So many things these days that I know, I only knew them through the time I spent on social media, reading tweets, going through threads, following links, and seeing what's happening. That's how I got to know quite a lot of things. So social media these days is what people use to actually build up on their stock of knowledge. Then teachability, be willing to learn. This is also something I implied previously in the course of the session. Be teachable, be someone that is willing to learn, because whether we like it or not, attitude is very, very important. Attitude could determine how far you could go, and it's even becoming an official conversation academically Some of us might have heard about emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, I wouldn't want to give it any particular definition, but it has to do with anything regarding what we know as human relation in a Nigerian language, right? I remember we call it human relation. And so it encompasses all those things. Being teachable, knowing that when somebody corrects you doesn't mean that the person is being rude, but also the person given the correction should also know how to correct, right? So you have to have that kind of attitude, because the world is so big, different people, diverse people with different attitudes. Laughter in one society might mean this a different thing if you compare it to another society. These are things you find out by the time you meet different people across the world. You realize context matters. Sometimes just looking at somebody and looking again and just looking of it could connote something. So you have to be aware of that. Develop emotional intelligence. It's like I said, it's not just talk. All these things that I'm talking about, they've become fields in themselves. People have actually written about them. So you can read about them and get to understand what the context is, because most times this these facts are not specific. They are general. So it's about developing the consciousness that these things exist. So, but it requires, like I said, lifelong learning, openness, knowing that okay, this could be it. Okay, maybe the youngest person in the room could be the person who has the better idea. Perhaps he has read something just before he came to this meeting that we haven't read. Perhaps he had read something that was published just last night and I didn't read that. So perhaps you could have a better grasp of what we are going to talk about. So you have to be aware of those in order to, remember, grab this kind of global opportunities. Then, okay, um, the last three things I was going to talk about was, I had summarized the qualities. Maybe let me just say a quality that is required for people who want to get the opportunities I've mentioned. I have categorized them based on the person's status. So for graduates who want to get scholarships, master's or PhD scholarships, you need some level of academic excellence. You need some level of work experience, unique work experience. And work experience doesn't have to be a formal job where you are paid a salary, where you go to work, like I said, 9 to 5. No. So long as it's tangible, it's something that you can talk about. So long as it's something that you went and did, you made an effort to do it, it becomes work experience. So for graduates who want to get scholarships, that's what you should focus on. If you are still in school, focus on getting a very good grade. It's very, very important. If you can get a first class, grab that first class degree. But I know that first class degree is not something that everyone can get. It's not something that everyone gets. In fact, in order not to put so much pressure on yourself, some people would tell you something else. But for me, I always would want to encourage people to get the best grade possible, because it helps. It gives you an edge when they are considering different applications. Okay, this one has a very, very good work experience, but this one has good work experience and he has a very, very good degree. Then chances are that if they are to just pick one person, the person who has the better grade is very likely to get selected. And that is not with no prejudice to work experience. Work experience is great. Work experience could give you something that somebody who just has a grade, a grade certificate wouldn't get. For example, somebody who has a good grade but doesn't have as much experience as you is unlikely to get the opportunity most times, because I mean, you all went to school, but you have work experience, and at some level work experience matters the most. Sometimes I don't want to be quoted saying some of these things. I'm just trying to, like I said, give a context. I don't want to handhold. I don't want this session to be a hand-holding session. Then for people who want to also judicious use of time, something I should have talked about. If you want to get these opportunities, then you have to use your time judiciously. You have to manage your time. You have to devote your time to getting what you want. You have 24 hours in a day. You've just finished school. You don't have any pressure to do anything or to be anywhere, you probably have like 6 hours that you're not using. Grab your phone, read a few articles. Is it business you want to do? Read about business. What's happening in the world of business? Because the world is moving towards a knowledge-based kind of economy where everything has to be learned. Everything is knowledge-based. Everything is based on some kind of novel idea, and that's why you always need to read in order to know what people have been doing and where they stopped and where you can add. We often have this tendency of thinking that reading is just for bookworms in school, all those people who are going to finish with first class. But the truth is that no. What I've noticed over time, the people I've met in life who are doing quite well, who have grabbed these opportunities, are people who love to read. They are not academic in a way. Personally, I don't want to think of myself as somebody that is academic. All I know is that it's because I have certain things that I want to do, and I saw how reading about these things are quite important. That is why I read to find out about these things, because reading in itself is a means, not an end in itself. Reading helps you to know about something. Reading is like a map that you look at and then you start navigating. Yeah, so read. If it's business that you want to do, yes, read. Read about business opportunities. Read about how to start a business. Read about how to get funding. Read about how to manage someone with a very, very difficult kind of attitude in the workplace. Read about those things. Read about how to reach out to co-founders. If you want somebody to be your co-founder, read about how you can reach out to them, how you can give you a pitch, how you should interact with them, the kind of openness that you should demonstrate in your interaction with them. All these things are things to be learned. Sometimes we find ourselves facing certain issues because we haven't really read about what we suddenly started doing. But if you read about things, you are unlikely to make cheap mistakes, basically. So spend your time judiciously to find out about these things by reading, preparing, getting the skill. Then for business people, yeah, use of internet tools. Use internet tools. If you are doing business, um, as much as Instagram is used to make sales, you can also use Twitter to make sales. I have seen a lot of people who all they do is that on Saturdays, for example, they make some small chops and then they post on Twitter and it gets retweeted. I know that might not be sustainable in the long term by the time the business becomes big, but you can use that to actually come to the space to make people aware of your business. So um, use those internet tools to market your business, not just Twitter. You can also have a website, for example. It doesn't cost much to start a website, but certain businesses that if you're starting, have a website. A website helps. It helps to tell people that this is somebody who is very, very serious about what they do. And remember what I said earlier in this session about luck, about how it's somebody who has started the business that can actually access that luck of meeting somebody who needs exactly what they are selling and could pay a very, very high price. It's the same thing actually, right? It's the same thing. So it's if you if you put yourself out there, then that is when you get that kind of luck. So if you have a website, for example, that person who would buy your merchandise and pay you well, perhaps could be someone in as far as Australia. And for them, they only want to buy from businesses that are genuine. And once they see that you have a website, then they are convinced that, oh, yeah, this is a business that I can interact with. You might be, when you started off your business, you might be thinking of selling in units, sell to these two people, three people, one person. But this person might be there willing to give you a contract. It happens. It has happened to a lot of people, right? So, and that's why whatever you're starting, make sure that you are doing it in the most standard way. Don't have I don't want to use the word, but don't have this sense that all I want is just to like this small community. Position your business in such a way that if it should blow today, if they should compare with another business of another young person in the US, you can go head to head. So yeah, those are the things I wanted to talk about. I can't stop talking about these things, but I just thought they are going to be very, very helpful. So yeah, this is what I have to share today. This is all that I have to share, at least for today, but I'm going to use the remaining time to take in questions and yeah, if you watch this, if you're watching this later, I wish there was going to be a transcription. I hope if anyone knows how to add transcription to already recorded videos on Facebook, please send me a DM. Although I should also do my research to find out how to do that. Perhaps there could be people who want to listen, but they might only be able to make use of the video by reading transcription. So yeah, I would have loved to have a transcription of what I'm saying, because yeah, you have to have that awareness that it's not all your audience that would hear you physically, right? So yeah. I am trying to go through some comments that people made. Okay, yeah, I have this question from Sani Musa Ibrahim. He said, do students who have a 2-2 degree have a chance to secure global scholarship? Yes, I know 2 people who finished with a 2-2 and they got the Chevening scholarship, but they all had sound work experience. So if you have work experience, a good work experience, or maybe decent amount of publications, number of publications, then yeah, you can get a scholarship. Although there are some scholarships that are strictly for people who have 2-1 and first class above. For example, the Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program that I am currently under only accepts people who have 2-1 and above. Those are the only people that they accept, because their necessary condition is academic excellence. Then other things come, but academic excellence first. And most times academic excellence would be defined by an honors degree, and that is 2-1 and above. But Chevening scholarship, like I said, they accept people with 2-2. Commonwealth Shared Scholarship, I think they also accept people with 2-2, but the people, anyone who is applying to Commonwealth Shared Scholarship and wants to stand a chance, but the person only has a 2-2, the person has to have a master's degree to back that up. If you have a master's degree plus a 2-2, then you can apply for a Commonwealth Shared Scholarship and you stand a chance. So 2-2 is not a death sentence, in the words of someone on Twitter. Yeah, someone is asking me if I'm recording it. I think Facebook automatically records your live session. So once the session is over, they are going to create a video on my timeline for people to watch. And I think your comments would also be showing in the video. Thank you very much, Mustafa Saidu. Yeah, that's someone who shares the same name with me. Thank you. Yeah, LinkedIn is very, very useful. Hawa SB, yeah, it's very, very useful. I have been using LinkedIn. I mean, I signed up on LinkedIn since I think 2010, because I signed up for most of these things around the same time. Although my personal Facebook account I signed up in November 2009, but my Facebook page I opened it on a day like this 12 years ago. Exactly. So since then, I remember how when I started LinkedIn, I was in secondary school, so I didn't have anything to put. But sometimes it's about believing in your journey and believing in the small steps up until I finally would open my LinkedIn page and I would scroll through my profile and I would see the many things that I have on my profile, which I added one by one actually. It's not like I went and did everything and then I came and uploaded them all on my LinkedIn. No. I would do something and I would upload, and then over time I just see the profile expanding. So yeah, LinkedIn is very, very useful. In fact, it depends on certain considerations I'm going to make, but perhaps I would start having particular sessions where we'll just talk about LinkedIn, for example. We'll just talk about Twitter, or we'll just talk about scholarship, masters, or we'll just talk about PhD scholarship. So yeah, it is. Yeah, Abdullahi Ademu Misili asked a question on personal statement. Yeah, personal statement is not an easy thing to write. You have to do some introspection, yeah, to know what to write. But sometimes for some people, I heard it can be very, very easy, because at the end of the day, the key thing is knowing how to write. If you are a good writer, You can have very little experience, but maybe with a good grade from your undergrad and write a very good personal statement, and yeah, you get a scholarship. But for me, honestly, I had to do almost everything. I had to learn how to write. I had to do several things. I did several things, not like I had to do several things, but I just did several things because I just felt then that I had the energy. So I was just doing everything that I felt like I could do, and that was cool to me. So I was just doing everything that I just felt I wanted to do. So, and then I wrote a lot of statements. I have a lot of drafts on my laptop. I remember between 2017 and 2021, I can't remember how many words I've written in personal statement and cover letter applying to one organization or the other, or one scholarship or the other. So personal statement, you just have to take some time to think about it, develop it, and also get mentors who will be reviewing your personal statement, because you don't always get it right in your first attempt. Sometimes you try several times until you finally get to know how to even talk about what you want. Sometimes you might talk about every person's desire is valid. However, there is a way that you can talk about your desire in such a way, I mean your ambition in such a way that people would understand and it will make sense to people. You see a lot of people with fantastic dreams, but sadly, the way they talk about them doesn't make it sound like this is something that has been well thought out. So it's always good for you to demonstrate that, and you can learn that through practicing. You write, if you see a scholarship opportunity, try it. Get as many people. Social media helps you to build a wider network of people that would help to put you through. Mentorship is not necessarily somebody that you visit every week to greet them, to say hello, hi, and then calling them mentors here and there. No, mentorship is most times a silent thing that you don't need to even say. When somebody is helping you do something, the person is mentoring you. The earlier you realize that mentorship is about generally people who just have been there, done that, who could put you through, then the better you get to achieve what you set out to achieve. Okay, there's transcription. Great, Chuma. Great. Then thank you very much, Mustafa Saidu. Yeah, Yusuf Idris, I see you. How have you been? I thought about you not quite long ago. Yeah, someone is asking me if I have any insight on PTDF scholarship. Well, I have a few things that I know about PTDF scholarship. I know that it is funded by the government of Nigeria. They bring students to countries such as the United Kingdom. I have met a couple of people studying here in the UK for masters or PhDs, and they are funded by PTDF in Nigeria. I think for you to apply for PTDF scholarship, you also need a 2-1, and they also consider your SSCE results. So you have to also have good grades in your SSCE, they said, and most of their funding goes to building skills in the petroleum industry, if I'm not mistaken. But I know that that's what they want to do. They want to build the skills of Nigerians in the oil and gas sector, so that the sector will become indigenized and whatnot. So yeah, that's the few things that, and then you also have to write a 500 words personal statement. You have to do that, and before you apply, I would then advise that you identify a UK university that you want to go to. One thing about scholarship application is that scholarships, usually global scholarships, usually they are for people who are willing to know very very much about things. If you have superficial knowledge about things, or you are the kind of person that, I don't know, I don't even know what they're talking about, it's like, I can't stress. If you are that kind of person, I'm sorry to say, well, maybe eventually, because these days there is nothing that you can exclude, but you might just see somebody with that kind of attitude getting certain opportunities, but it's very very unlikely for the person to be able to compete when the competition is very stiff. So you have to be that kind of person who is willing to preempt information. Read through the PTDF website, for example, know about everything before you even apply, even when before the universities open their application window, go to the university website. I mean, check the PTDF website, see which courses they are willing to sponsor. Go to that university, send them an email, ask them. They would respond. Tell them what you need to do if you want to apply. Tell them, ask them if you're eligible. Sometimes you can even send them a copy of your transcript. Ask them if you are the kind of student that they usually take. And I've done that to a couple of universities. I've done that to the University of Nottingham when I was applying. Send them a copy of my student result slip, asking them if my grades were suitable for acceptance in their competitive MSc economic development and policy analysis program. And they got back to me saying, yes, you can apply. So do that. Engage with the universities. There are people hired to respond to emails of prospective students. So those are the things you need to do to get a PTF scholarship, I think. And then, since it's a government scholarship, know your current affairs. Don't go to PTDF interview not knowing how the petroleum industry works. Please know about the petroleum industry. Demonstrate some understanding, some willingness. Show them that you are a potential manpower in the oil and gas industry. I don't want to say much. I'm not the PTDF scholar. Okay, Alamin. Okay, just send me your we'll talk. I'll send you a DM, inshallah. Okay. Okay, someone is asking if PTDF scholarship is open. I don't know, honestly. I don't know. And exactly why you need to be on Twitter. The way Twitter timeline is created, it's in such a way that you can opt to see latest news first. So if you're on Twitter, you are likely to be seeing news as they unfold. You'll be seeing it as it unfolds. So if you're on Twitter, follow PTDF. For me, what I do on my Twitter, most times people would log on to Twitter and they are laughing out loud. And of course, I also sometimes check my Twitter and I laugh, but not quite often, because most of the accounts that I follow are official accounts, newspapers, for example, and not just Nigerian newspapers. I also follow reputable um, dailies in the US, in Europe, elsewhere. I follow them to just get a sense of what's going on. And because of what I'm studying and what I'm interested in, international development studies, so it has to do with literally everything. You just have to keep abreast with whatever is going on, and it's interdisciplinary. It could be something that has to do with health, it could be something that has to do with migration, trade, education, agriculture, aviation, so many things. So I am on Twitter to know what's going on, and I also follow news as well. I listen to news. For those who know me, they know that I'm an ardent radio listener, so I listen to news and I make the connection. Sometimes I see half information on Twitter and then I listen to the news and I connect them and I then have a better picture of what's going on. And sometimes all these things, they help me to have a better way of addressing questions that are asked in my personal statement. Sometimes I must say this. Thank you very much, Malam Habu. Mustafa Hadi, I can see that you've also joined. So I think I have answered most of the questions I have seen. If I have skipped your question, please remind me so that I can get back to it. Like, okay, I have a new question that came in. Let me see. Okay. Okay. So, yeah, I think this is fair for our 12th anniversary. I just came to share a couple of things and make the 12th anniversary memorable, and especially because it's coinciding with the International Youth Day. And most of the people that are following this page, I'd want to assume, are young people. According to the African Union, young people, youth are people between the ages of 18 and 35, I think. So yeah, this session was dedicated to you, and it's also coincident with the fact that I am currently researching in that area of youth, while my own area is having to do with youth in governance, but also opportunity for youth is something very, very crucial. Only with decent opportunities would young people be able to become the adults that they are meant to be. So, and that's why I thought having this session was going to be helpful. To everyone who joined and people who made comments, fantastic comments, I appreciate these comments. I'm going to get back to them and read them. They make me smile all the time. To the people who always engaged with my posts, sending prayers, sending good wishes. I lack words to express how much I appreciate your support. Thank you very, very, very much. If you think there are issues in global opportunities generally that this series should cover, because I intend to develop this session into a series where we meet on a regular basis and talk about these things. So if you have suggestions, maybe feel free to reach out, send me a DM. I am available on most of the social media platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can follow me on all the social media platforms. I use the same handle, Mustafa Saeed. It's MUSTAPHERSAEED. Yeah, for the sake of social media, I had to alter the spelling of the Mustafa to use ER because I couldn't use PHA. Someone had already taken that handle. That's why I took the Mustafa with PHER. So yeah, just in case people would reach out to me and they would say Mustafa with PHER, please don't do that. My name is Mustafa MUSTAPHEA. So thank you very much for joining once again. I am going to sign out now. Happy International Youth Day, everyone, and happy Friday. Do have a lovely weekend. Bye.